What prison is John McGawan in? That is what I've found out, and that's what I'm going to be telling you in this video, people. John McGowan-FAZAKERLEY is responsible, or was responsible, for allowing the death of baby Preston. Innocent little baby Preston Davey, 30-month-old, who was murdered by Jamie Volley and John McGawan, the absolute monsters. Now, I do have quite a lot of information to get through, people, so do bear with us. But to get off to the start, I will tell you exactly, like it says in the thumbnail, he's in HMP full Sutton segregation, also known as the block. He has been there since last week, and he is being kept down there for his own protection, and there's not a lot of people actually knows this. This is classified information. The press have actually been issued with a day notice. A lot of press have found out about this because obviously people within the prison system, people that work for G4S, which works on the transport vans, there's a lot of people in the know that knows about this. But they've been issued with a day notice. And I've been contacted by quite a few different people giving me the same info, so that's how I know this is absolutely bang on. And as promised, I bring you lot watching this the straightforward facts about everything that I find out, because as you can quite imagine, people from all sort of sectors get in touch with details and information for me to then come on and give it to my viewers. So these two absolute monsters are both on an act, which is a suicide watch, round-the-clock care, or round-the-clock observations every 15 minutes, with a screw sitting outside of their cells. I will get into Jamie Volley, the absolute creature, later on in the video, but I'm going to focus for this one on John McGawan. I'm going to refer to him as the other monster, so I don't want to keep saying his name. So that other monster, these two were kept in separate prisons. Jamie Volley was in HMP Preston, and McGawan, the other monster, was kept inside of HMP Liverpool, because obviously they couldn't keep them together when they were on remand, because imagine that. They had 2 years together on bail. So when they finally got charged and remanded into custody, imagine they were allowed to share a cell and wait for their upcoming trial. But obviously when they got charged, they were allowed no contact with each other whatsoever. So without each other, they're both blubbering babies in their own cells, crying themselves to sleep. Absolute worthless pieces of you-know-what. So John McGawan, I know I said I wasn't going to refer to him as that, but I'll just say McGawan, or the other beast, or the other monster, is in full Sutton segregation, and he is on an unlock protocol, meaning obviously he's on the act. The act is, like I've just mentioned, round-the-clock supervision or observations so that they can't take their own lives. So the unlock protocol, what is an unlock protocol? It is something that the screws, the staff down the block, have to follow. The protocol, obviously for him, he has to have exercise by himself. He's not allowed out of his pad whilst any other inmates are out, even in the segregation unit. Mostly in the seg, inmates are taken out by themselves, but there is the odd time going to exercises and showers, the inmates might pass each other. So the unlock protocol for this beast is he is not allowed to be unlocked at the same time as anybody else. He has to have his exercise by himself, which normally happens in the block, but sometimes if the block is overrun, they put them out, not in the same yard, but there is separate cages where they sometimes put them out. And obviously, because they want to keep this top secret, and, and with there being a D notice with the press, this is issued by the government. So what is going on here? Why is there such a blanket ban on fucking him when there wasn't so much on Volley? Well, I'm going to get into a little bit of that because I'll say his name again. John McGawan was actually in a high-paid, high-end job, and he came from a respectable background. So I'll just talk a little bit about that before I get back into it. So his role was an area sales manager for Corporate Finance Limited, an asset company. And his role was specialising in asset finance. His daily responsibilities involved managing financial sales accounts, securing B2B finance, and handling client asset configurations. So this is a highly paid job. It is said that he was getting over 100 grand a year because obviously with bonuses and different things, and based on his performance on commissions and sales bonuses, he was making over 100 grand, and he was working with some high-end people. So are these high-end people having some sort of a pull in the background to try and keep him protected? Why are they trying to keep him protected? But when he was out on bail, living with the monster of a boyfriend of his, Jamie Varley, he has had them 2 years to speak with people in the finance sector, his associates, his bosses, people that he's managed assets for. You never know, there could be a lot of underhand things went on where they don't want him to leak anything, so they're trying to keep him safe. But he has had 2 years to try and manipulate them and tell them that he had nothing to do with it. But if he did try to say this, then why did he still live with this beast, this monster? But when the evidence all came out, there was evidence, digital evidence, that he participated in this. He's tried to say when he was on trial that a lot of the time he was not in the household when these things had took place and different things. And he did back him to the very end, because when he was questioned, Anne White KC defending McGawan asked him about the accusation that he knew or should have known that Preston was at risk from Volley. He went on to say, "He did everything right that I saw. He never did anything in my eyesight or when I was at home to make me think or question my leaving this little boy, and he's not going to be here anymore. I trusted Jamie constantly, indefinitely. There was never a moment I would not trust him to care for him in a way I always saw him to do so." So that was why he was convicted as well, along with the evidence. Even to the fucking very end at the trial, when all the details came out, he was still trying to back him and saying that he didn't do anything wrong. So back into his background, this McGawan, the other beast, because Volley come from a deprived background, lived on a council estate in Blackpool, one of the roughest in the UK. So the other beast had a conventional, stable and highly educated upbringing prior to his involvement. It was noted that before the trial, McGawan and his partner had been presented as good men of character with no prior criminal histories or indications of risk. He grew up as an only child in an affluent town of Congleton, Cheshire. He was privately educated at the King's School in Macclesfield, an independent school in Cheshire. He pursued an extensive academic path, earning multiple degrees before entering corporate finance. He was in different universities, and he was actually in Murdoch University in Perth, Australia. But he transferred back to Keele University, where he earned a master's degree in international relations and politics. He was involved, or he had a degree in politics, and subsequently began pursuing a PhD. So why are the government stepping in, putting a blanket ban on this, not letting the media or anybody talk about where he is actually being housed? And like I've said, I'm not going to say where I got this information from. There's a few different individuals who I got the info from, but obviously I can't say exactly where it came from. So it could have been a governor, could have been a prison officer, it could have been a prison psychiatrist, it could have been someone from G4S who transports them, could have been anybody, but I cannot tell you. And what I can also tell you is, like I've said in previous videos, I still have contacts inside the prison system, i.e. prisoners, and some prisoners that are in the block inside of HMP Full Sutton have become aware that he is down there, so banging on the door, shouting out the window, giving him a lot of grief, even though he's not responding and they're being told that he's not down there. They know, because obviously other people are in the know. The prisoners have been notified. You've got to think, if there's people working with him, they're going to let the prisoners know because they want him to be tortured. There's more ways to skin a cat. So during the night, when he's crying like a bubbling baby, saying, "It wasn't me, I shouldn't be here," the prisoners are giving him it out of the windows, screaming and banging the doors and giving him more reason to be on an act. And luckily, he is getting watched so that he cannot do away with himself. So that when he does eventually get put onto the wings, which will be obviously the VP wing, vulnerable prisoner, anything but vulnerable. They weren't vulnerable when they were being predators with a tiny, minute 13-month-old baby. But now they are on the receiving end. They cry like babies. What about poor little Preston when he was crying like a baby? He didn't have any protection the way that they've now got protection. If only that poor little infant, poor little Preston Davey, may he rest in peace. If he had only had that type of protection, he would have still been here. But now that these are on the receiving end, crying like blubbering babies inside the prison system, in case someone like the Iceman or of the such gets a hold of him and gives him the Ian Huntley, the Ian Watkins, or the Kyle Bevan treatment, which will be happening whether it's this decade or next. It's got to happen to these two absolute predators, because this is something that will never go unleft or unnoticed within the prison system. And even though they get put on the VP wings, I've mentioned previously the vulnerable prisoner wing, and you're waiting for it, the bacon wings, these bacons will be bashed. When they get put on the bacon wings, and anyone new at the channel, because I have got thousands and thousands of new subscribers over the last couple of weeks, if you're thinking about what's a bacon is a nonce. Inside a prison, it's a prison rhyme and slang for the dirty beasts, which is a bacon. So when these are on the bacon wings, and there's other prisoners on there who actually aren't in for doing offences like this, they aren't in for harming little ones, well, when they come into contact with them, like I've said, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, 10 years, or in Huntley's case, 20 years, they will come to a sticky ending. And I think that's about it covered on that other beast. He's in HMP Full Sutton Seg. And I think I'll just double check, because I do have a lot of information in front of us. I have covered everything with him. Well, I will go on to say this as well, but Lancashire Police uncovered overwhelming digital and medical evidence proving his complicity in the you-know-what of Preston Davey, prompting an independent child safeguarding practice review into catastrophic institutional failures. But that little one had 40 traumatic internal and external injuries. He had injuries on his inside, which was absolutely horrendous. Severe internal trauma to his bladder and bowel, and consistent with what they done to him. Absolute monsters. Got to be careful what I say and describe on here, because as you all well know, you can't go into detail about what's happened and say exactly what I was reading there, because the video does get flagged up and YouTube censors it. And obviously I like these videos to get out and get as far and as wide as possible. But whilst I'm on that matter, please hit the like button, because it does boost the algorithm. 70% of my viewers are still not subscribed to this channel, so go down, double check. And if you're not, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell. It's free to subscribe. So, Jamie Varley, as a few people been asking us to do an updated video on him. I did do one a few days ago, but someone messaged saying, well, I'm saying someone, a few people had comment on the last post saying, is it true? Is he on a hunger strike inside of HMP Wakefield prison? And yes, he's on a hunger strike. He's crying like a blubbering baby, feeling like the victim, because that's what type of predator, type of creature, type of absolute vermin he is. He now thinks he's the victim. He thinks he shouldn't have been found guilty. He didn't do anything wrong. He was dragged from the seg there. He was dragged from the witness box, the dock inside of the courts, blubbering, screaming, wailing. He was dragged out of it and down to the cells because he was crying so badly, because he thought he was going to get not guilty. Then when he was sentenced to a whole life order, he was crying like a blubbering baby on both occasions because he feels like a victim. He shouldn't have been found guilty. What an absolute monster. So he's on an act, like I've mentioned, and now he's starving himself. He cannot eat. Well, I'm surprised. He could have eaten anything at all for what he's actually done. How could he even be out on bail for 2 years and get on with his life and still look the way he did? He should have been a figure of his former self after doing what he done. But that absolute monster went about living his life. And when he was free for 2 years after the murder, he thought he was never going to see the inside of a prison cell. But now he's inside of a prison cell serving life without parole. He can't take his own life because he's on an act. And the screws are keeping an eye on him. They're sitting outside of his pad. They're watching him 24 hours of the day, checking on him every 15 minutes. So what other way can he do it? He's went on a hunger strike in protest against his innocence, because he did say he'll fight till the death to prove his innocence. So he's on hunger strike. Well, I hope he's in excruciating pain whilst on hunger strike and his insides are turning inside out and giving him the most pain he can imagine, because that is what he deserves. But I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. I have covered quite a lot in this video. Do let us know in the comments, even though I do get thousands of comments. I do try to get through a lot of them. But do let us know if you want me to cover anything else. There's loads of more information and quite a lot of more details, which I am actually going to do another video, whether it's later on in the week or at the weekend, that has come out about Volley. Even though he never, when he had his criminal background check, even though nothing came up, there's a lot of things coming to light from former associates, school friends, and the such about his background. And he had done sick, sadistic things whilst in school from the age of 14-year-old. I'll keep that for another video, people, just to keep yous in the know about what goes on. I have to be careful the way I worded that there, but just to keep us all in the know, because all the information that I get, I relay on here when I know it is factual, and some of the stuff that has come out about Volley is absolutely disturbing, and it should never have happened what happened to young baby Preston. May he rest in peace. Poor little baby Preston Davey. God bless you, child. But I'm going to leave that one there for now. People, hopefully you are enjoying the content. And if you are, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Take care, everyone. But most importantly, people, stay safe.